Come on down and meet your doom, Ghost.
Climb up here and get me, Pepar, if you've got the guts. Hark, a messenger! What news dost thou bring to yonder burger castle?
Hey kids, welcome back. David from Atomic Candy, and we are open by chance, and what I'm open with today here is an unboxing of the Mezco 1/12 collective or 1/12 scale Space Ghost. And this is, as you can see in the upper right hand corner there, the Entertainment Earth exclusive version, not the regular version. And there is a slight difference between the two, which I will explain. And just for the hell of it, I also brought out my autographed picture of Space Ghost, and it's not really Space Ghost's autograph. What it is signatures of all three of the voice actors from the show Space Ghost Coast to Coast. Thought it would be fun to bring that out. And you know, the Space Ghost Coast to Coast show actually used original cells of Space Ghost and the other characters and just revoiced them and changed the background. A little trivia about the show there. I will go ahead and show you the back of the packaging here. Now, my Space Ghost that's in this box is not going to look like that one. He will look like the one on the right, more so, but not the one in the bottom images here. That's the traditional Space Ghost produced by Mezco for 1/12 collective figures. Mine is the glow-in-the-dark version from Entertainment Earth. So it's going to be slightly different, especially the weapons. Instead of looking like fire or energy, it's going to be transparent, and my monkey, Blip is his name, is not going to be colored like that. So let's go ahead and peel off that plastic. Now we've gone ahead and taken the plastic bag off, got it right here. I do like that it comes in a plastic bag, just in case it gets shipped. If the bag gets soaking wet somehow, at least your box will still be dry. But there's more plastic. If you've ever had these before, you know what I'm talking about. There's also a plastic sleeve. Goes over the side. And then, of course, we have another sleeve, a cardboard one, and it's identical to the box. Now you can really see the difference. You see the inner box is the traditional Space Ghost inner box. That's what the first series Space Ghost from Mezco 1/12 collective looks like. Blip was never that scary looking on the show, ever. And then, of course, an enhanced glow-in-the-dark look to it. And I will get a glow-in-the-dark picture of this later on, once I get it out of the package, just to show you for contrast. I'm going to take the sleeve away. Space Ghost, of course, classic Hanna-Barbera, was on the air from 1966 to 1968. Of course, it was not a standalone show. Few Hanna-Barbera productions were. Space Ghost originally in the 60s had to share the limelight with Dino Boy, which was an unrelated show. Here he is, and there's another sheet of plastic to protect the cellophane window. And then a sketch, a rather rudimentary sketch of Space Ghost here on the inside. And again, you know, if I was going to have one complaint about these boxes is that artwork is always on the inside of the box instead of on the cover. On the cover, all you get is this Space Ghost, and then on the back, something to depict what's inside the package. So if you were to take this out and display it in front of your box like some people do, your best option is to set it up in front of this. It would be nice if there was artwork on the box itself. It would make it more interesting. And then you can incorporate the box into the display. Space Ghost used to cross over with the Herculoids a lot. Do you remember the Herculoids? Here he is. The Space Ghost figure himself looks like the other figure, but as you can see, the accessories are all glow-in-the-dark accessories. We're going to open this up. I'm going to open up one of the flaps and pull Space Ghost out so that we can get a better look at him. Now we got the flap open, and like with many figures like this, you have a series of trays inside. I'll go ahead and slide that out, and there you are. There's our Space Ghost in the tray. And typically I'm an in-the-box collector, but since figures like this are made so that they can be opened and repackaged, I will go ahead and open this up to show you what he looks like. See, he's got a thing of silica gel there, a stand in the background, 6 extra hands, Blip the monkey completely invisible, which is supposed to be representative of the glow-in-the-dark feature. That's why he's going to glow in the dark, is so that they can have a invisible version, basically. Blasting rays, and his fists are actually attached to that. Do you see that? The fists are connected to those. There's a fireball and an energy blast inside there. Even though this was taken off the air in '68, it remained in syndication all through the '70s. I remember watching this many times as a child. So let's go ahead and separate these trays. There should be an under tray. There we go. And there are 2 more blast effects in the under tray. Look at that. As well as the classic Ziploc bag that they give you for accessories, the 112 bag, and the extension arm for the base. Set that aside and open this up for the first time. And I would suggest to you that if you get this figure, make sure your hands are very clean, because that is a very white fabric, and you will be very sad if you were eating ketchup and fries and then went to handle this, because you will never get it clean again, ever. So what we're going to do here next is, I don't want to stand this all the way forward because things will fall out, and I've had that happen before in other videos with something, a hand will fall out or whatever, and I'd rather not deal with it. So I'm going to jump ahead and get him on the stand and show you what he looks like. And here is Space Ghost. Thaddeus Bach, by the way, is his actual name, Thaddeus Bach. Out of the package with all of his accessories. Really good color on this. Very good likeness of the cartoon character. Of course, the cartoon character is just rudimentary drawing. It's nothing too spectacular, but they did a good job on him regardless. And I like the color contrasts. Also, that cape has wires in it so that you can position the cape. take a look at some of the accessories here. He's got a set of flying hands, a set of grasping hands, pointing hands, and it's like two fingers. I'll turn it the other way. Pointing. A couple of fireballs, blasts. And something interesting about these accessories too, if you look inside of here, I don't know how well you can see that. There we go. You see how there's like a little rounded spot and a hole in the center? These are designed to fit right onto the wrist peg. When you remove his fist, these connect right to the wrist peg like his hands or his fists would. I think that's interesting. But you get those two big fireball blasts. Blip, the monkey, who is fully articulated like the figure, by the way, and you can see the joints because he is transparent due to the fact that he's been made to glow in the dark and be invisible. But you can see the shoulder, elbow, knee, hip, and ankle joints there. I don't know if his wrist is jointed. I don't think it is. No, the head is jointed. He's got a little backpack on because, you know, the monkey could fly. No point being a space monkey if you can't fly. The 1/12 little Ziploc bag that all these collectors love. The little peg that came out of the stand so that I can insert the arm, because that peg is actually for his heel. He should have a hole in the bottom of his foot. And there you go. So that's for standing on that peg when it's in the stand. And that peg comes out so that you can put the control arm to have him jumping, flying, things like that. And we have a couple of more blast effects. This one also has that hole for his wrist. This one has part of a hand to make it look as if he's projecting the beam, energy ray. And then you have two more beams with little fists attached. Because as you know, not only is Space Ghost not a ghost, he's also not a mutant or have any special powers. All of his abilities are in his costume. They're in his belt, they're in his wrist gauntlets. He can fire energy beams and project shields and turn invisible and fly. But that's because of the control panels on his gauntlets, which are depicted there. Now, like with most of these figures, the outfit is completely stitched on. It is not coming off of this figure. He has rubber soles on the bottoms of the outfit, and it's completely stitched on. Like I said, this is not coming off. Head tilt, turn, nod. It's actually kind of limited. It doesn't move as much as a lot of figures do. Arm and shoulder motion, elbows, wrists, turn. He's got very good articulation. If I'm not mistaken, it's 32 points of articulation. Stomach and chest, he can do some crunches. Hip motion, knees, ankle, pivot as well as tilt. A little bit of limitation on the forward and backward tilt, it feels like, but that might be because of the cloth getting into the joint. But you have a lot of articulation options here. One thing that I thought was unusual was the positioning of the base on the stand, because when you put the peg in it, the Space Ghost emblem is facing Space Ghost rather than facing the observer, you. And I think it would have been better perhaps if the peg was up towards this end instead of at the bottom. I guess they didn't want to obstruct the emblem, but you're still going to obstruct the emblem if he's standing on it. So Space Ghost had a pretty long history because he's been around since 1968, Hanna-Barbera production. They used to do superhero type things, not just wacky racers, you know, Birdman and the Herculoids and other shows like that. So let's get him into a pose and see how he looks. And here we are. We got Space Ghost up in a pose here, flying, blasting in one direction and blasting in another. I tried a couple of different attachments here, and they seem like they're quite heavy actually on his wrist. So that is a little bit of a concern for me. As a matter of fact, I had tried these out, the blasting hand effects, and the one for his left hand, the hole on the inside of this seems much smaller than the one on the right hand. And so the one on the right hand slipped right on without a problem, but the one on the left hand would not fit. And I did not want to force it because I'm concerned about damaging the wrist joints. But here we go. Mick Foley is getting blasted here. He's a little bit out of his element. Got Space Ghost in a nice flying pose. And like I said, there's wires in the cape so that you can pose the cape and get a lot more of an effect out of it. So you can get a lot done with that stand. I like the stands that come with these figures. You know, it's amazing the staying power of this particular character in the Hanna-Barbera universe. You know, originally only had 42 episodes back in the 60s, and then it was revamped in 1981 on a show called Space Stars, where they gave him a twin brother, and they called him Space Spectre. I don't know if you remember that. Space Spectre, another 22 episodes and then canned. But most people probably remember him from Space Ghost Coast to Coast, like on my autograph there. Because that's run for just as long as the original show. It was, what, 94 to 99, and then 2001 to 2004, you know, on like Adult Swim, where they changed his name. He wasn't Thaddeus Bach anymore. He was Tad Ghostal. Tad Ghostal, which is pretty lame. I like Thaddeus better. And he had a twin brother on Coast to Coast also named Chad Ghostal. And I wonder about that. I wonder if that's where they got the idea for Chad Vader. You remember Chad Vader? It was like a YouTube show. It came on, and I started coming on in like 2006. Chad Vader, Darth Vader's twin brother, who was like a supermarket manager. Animation Channel brought back Space Ghost Coast to Coast not too long ago, like in 2006. I think it only lasted a couple of seasons that time, though. DC Comics brought him back for a while. Gave him a much darker edge, had his family killed and all sorts of stuff. It wasn't the happy-go-lucky Hanna-Barbera type. Even though Space Ghost killed basically everybody in the show, he fired a blasting ray and then the bad guy would just evaporate. I think Mick Foley would suffer more if Terror Blip was tormenting him as well, because that is a scary freaking blip. It doesn't look anything like the blip. The blip on the show is cute. So it was Space Ghost, Blip, Jan, and Jace, I think, right? Jan and Jace were the twins, the two kids that he was rescuing like every episode, because that was the premise for every episode. Jan and Jace would get themselves kidnapped and Space Ghost would come and rescue them.
Jace, what's wrong?
Without power, we've slipped into the gravitational field of that planet.
What'll we do?
I'll call Space Ghost. Jace to Space Ghost. Jace to Space Ghost.
They'd have got away with it if they took the kids' communicators. I like that pose, actually. That's Jace with a J. Jace. Pretty sure. So what do you think of our 1/12 Collective Space Ghost action figure? I like what Mezco does with the 1/12 Collective figures, and as you can see, they don't just do Marvel and DC characters, they do other characters as well. Like, I know they have an Alex DeLarge, and they have Ash of the Evil Dead, and a few others. I'm getting more and more into these. I'm starting to really like the 1/12 Collective figures. They typically range around $80 a piece, roughly. New. Aftermarket, that's anybody's ball game. But new, they range around $80. Sometimes they're a little more, depends on what they come with. I think this one was a pretty decent price for the accessories, and that was my complaint about the Captain Rogers. If you saw my Captain Rogers review, 1/12 Collective figure, he had a ton of hands, but really no accessories. And I like that this one has a lot of accessories because it makes it so that I can do more with the figure. And remember, this one also glows in the dark. All the accessories and everything glows in the dark. So what do you think? Do you like this figure? Is this something you'd be interested in? Do you have anything Mezco 1/12 Collective related? Tell me about it in the comments section. I'd like to hear it. This is a good stepping stone sort of a figure, because you know you have your lower level figures. You know, you start off on the bottom with like Funko, that kind of stuff, and then you move up and you've got like Star Wars Black Box or Marvel Legends, and then you get to a middle point where you have Tamashii Nations and Mezco 1/12 Collective figures, or SH Figure Arts. They're going to run you anywhere from $50 to $100 a figure. And if you can't afford to do like Hot Toys or 3-0 or something like that, this is a good alternative. So let me know what you think. Tell me your thoughts in the comment section down below. Please do give the video a thumbs up. I sure would appreciate it. Share it if you can. Subscribe if you're new. Check out some of our other videos. I've got other unboxing videos, other showcases, modern and vintage, as well as discussions, weekly roundups. We do a lot of different things on this channel, my wife and I. Unboxings and toy hunts and you name it. And the more of you there are, the more we can do here. So thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed it, and I hope to see you again soon.